Hey guys, Smalls here, and this is a movie review. I'm joined by my brother, Justino.
Hello, what's up?
What movie did we fly out from?
Pearl Harbor? No, wrong movie. Sorry, that movie was bad. Midway.
Midway. Yes. Starring a lot of people, mostly Ed Skrein. You might know him from the first Deadpool as the antagonist.
Yes.
Francis. No, but he's playing the main character among very many characters.
Yes.
Covering the events of the battle at Midway.
Was it Lieutenant Richard Best? Was it Lieutenant? I'm sorry. I don't know rankings.
He's just a
He's a
dive,
pilot.
yeah, a dive bomber pilot.
Richard Best.
Richard Dick Best.
Best name ever. And he's real.
Yes. Based on a real person.
Not a fictional character.
Yeah. A lot of this movie is based off of real events,
yes.
obviously.
Real people. Which is very amazing.
Yeah.
To think that people forget these events actually happen.
Mm-hmm.
This stuff has actually happened, and it's a very, very good eye opener.
Mm-hmm. It's
People tend to forget. We live in a time of peace, relative peace. Back when that was happening, what are we looking at now? 70 years, 80 years, 80 years ago.
It's hard to remember what war like that was like.
With the whole world at war, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Life was different,
Very.
and it's great that we had a movie come out like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of refreshing to have another World War II movie and covering, events that takes place very close to home.
Yes, definitely.
It kind of felt like one of those movies that we as locals to Hawaii were sort of obliged
That's
to
how
see.
Pearl Harbor was back then. Like we don't notice it.
No. Yeah, I mean, we have learned in like the history books and stuff and through school, especially here in Hawaii, about the events of Pearl Harbor, and we only hear stories of it. And we've never gotten like a realistic sort of depiction of it,
Yes, because Pearl Harbor was bad.
except the movie Pearl Harbor.
Let's not. Okay, stop referencing that one.
Let's not remember that movie.
Yes.
Because this is not that movie.
Oh, and this is also not the movie Midway from 1976. This is not a recreation of that. It's
Yeah.
a completely different movie.
Yeah, I didn't even know that there was another movie before this.
Yeah, Midway from 1976, starring Charlton Heston.
Mm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Classic.
Hmm.
Do I remember it? No, it was way before my time. No.
You might not even need like a history class on the battle at Midway. You might need like at the very least a knowledge of Pearl Harbor and
The events leading up to the U.S. Entry into World War II.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a very good film. That it does the job.
Yeah.
It's a very good, if you don't want to go to history class, this is a 2.5 hour history lesson.
Yeah. It feels more like a documentation of these events rather than an actual film.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which, on the film aspect, I do have to get a little critical. Because this is also a movie filled with a lot of CG.
Yeah.
Very noticeable CG.
Very noticeable, but noticeable computer graphics.
Mhm.
It's hard to recreate stuff that's happening, realistically.
Yeah. I mean, it's
It makes
understandable.
sense,
You
yeah.
can't realistically bomb like
Carriers
carriers
in the middle of the ocean with these circa 1940 bomber planes.
all for a movie.
No,
You can't
yeah.
really do that. So it's understandable, but at the same time, there's also movies that do war super like sci-fi-ish a little bit more realistically than what they've had in here.
Yeah.
It could have been a little bit more grounded, but that's not in terms of the CG. I feel like it could have been more grounded in the way that it could have been shot, how they helmed, some of these sequences.
That is true.
Like when they did the Pearl Harbor sequence, it was sudden. I get that it just happens out of nowhere, and no one saw that coming. But even for film or film goers in a film about these events, they made it happen so suddenly, and it didn't feel as consequential as it was.
The focus of the film is not
Pearl Harbor. Yeah, but
it's the events that lead up to the Battle of Midway and the turning point of the war.
Yeah.
So like you said, it was sudden. Maybe that was the effect that they wanted to go with. Like,
I
quick,
can see the
it
intention
happened.
for it.
Quick, it happened. It's done, and yeah, a lot of lives were lost. What was considered the first attack
Yeah. But
against the U.S.
the problem that I also saw is that some of the effects from how they shot the Pearl Harbor sequence carried over to some of the other sequences, and it's like they could have easily made this like better if they just made it feel more grounded in some way. In terms of performances, I feel like they were all adequately performed. I mean, there was a ton of characters, ton of people, rather.
So a lot of screen time that was shared between these folks.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, probably won't get any award nods for individual performances.
I mean, there's so many individual performances.
Yeah. It's an ensemble.
Yeah. The major players are probably the bigger faces, but one of them that takes up most of the screen time is Ed Skrein.
Mm-hmm.
And another one is Luke Evans, even though you don't get like a good feel for his portrayal of that character. Patrick Wilson does a pretty good job. He's one of the intelligence officers.
And a spritz of Woody Harrelson.
Yeah, I mean, Woody Harrelson is great wherever he is.
Yeah, playing the Admiral Nimitz.
Admiral Nimitz. Like, he's also got a set of white hair, like a full, like, blonde hair. Is like, that's definitely a wig.
Yeah.
But nothing to take away from any of their performances. I feel like
they wanted to make it feel as if they were portraying these real life people.
Yeah, and not just some characters.
They wanted to do those folks justice in the roles that they played. I can see that. And at the same time, put in a little bit of their own element. But in the end, they wanted to honor those folks, and I think that's what they did.
Yeah, I feel like they were justified. Yeah. As for the flow of the film, I feel like it was paced quite well. Like, there's definitely bits where they're just throwing information at you, just history, like history books right in your face. But it's all sort of just information build up to the next battle.
Yeah. Can say that. I mean, the pacing, I got nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
It's one of those where most war films, or there's stuff with battles in it, you gotta have breaks to allow the audience to breathe.
Yeah.
And the way that they did it in this has to deal a lot with what happens on, like, in the shadows of war. A lot of the intelligence,
a lot of
reconnaissance that goes on, a lot of the board play, the strategy,
and tactics,
the tactics.
Yeah.
And it's good because it allows us to see that those in command that gotta come up with these plans, they don't have a whole lot, really. They don't have a whole lot of information, and what they do have, they gotta go based on a lot of gut feeling. And it's one of those where in this film, because we follow the intelligence officers as well, how important they are in being able to turn the tide of war.
How very important intel is.
Yes.
To war. Yes. I feel like overall this film played out like a typical World War II film. Like what you'd expect from a film going into this. It doesn't play any better or worse. It plays exactly how you'd expect this film to play out, which doesn't make it bad. It has its very entertaining moments, and some of the battles, actually got my heart racing.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
You do get a bit of an adrenaline kick, especially with those dive bombers.
Yeah,
Because you're right in the lap of the pilot.
It does get pretty intense. And I honestly didn't expect that.
And if you don't know a lot of these guys that actually went through the battles, if you don't know their history, you're watching the film, you're like, is he gonna survive?
Yeah, it makes you question
does
if
he
you
die?
if you don't know these people in actuality.
It's like, it's that's what makes it good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get to you get attached to these characters. I mean, these actual
People.
People.
Yes. All right, let's get down to the review. Did you need a brain?
I think you could go either way. For me, there's the battle sequences where it was like, okay, bring it on. And then when they got into a lot of the strategy and the other events that's happening that leads up to these battles, that's like, bring on. Like, that's just me.
Yeah.
You want to keep your brain on in this movie? Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember this movie. It's events that shall not be forgotten.
For me, it's mostly a brain on kind of movie. Like, there's a lot of information being thrown at you, and there's a lot of stuff that will make you think about, what's about to come, even though it's, historical events. You kind of makes you think about it.
You can't change the past.
Yeah.
It makes you think about it.
It makes you.
It makes you reevaluate the things that happened in the past. Like certain steps. What if they did this? Could that have changed the outcome of the war? Who knows? Maybe it would have.
Yeah.
It's a good movie. And that's why, keep your brain on. I kept mine.
For the most part,
Yeah.
just keep it on. I mean, you can also have it off during those action sequences because there's not really a whole lot of thinking going into those. But yeah, keep it on for the most part. Now, food.
This is not fast food. It doesn't feel like fast food to me. I have no regrets coming out of that movie. So I will say this is kind of like your old-fashioned backyard barbecue.
Ooh.
With a good old-fashioned homemade American burger.
America.
USA all the way.
America.
America.
For me, I will say that this is like on the low tier dine-in. And for food, I would liken this to an old school diner. I don't
Like diners?
Yeah, diners. Old school diner. Yeah, I guess they're all kind of old school now. Yeah, having like breakfast at a diner.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Like,
It has that feel. This film has that feel.
I mean, basically, it's like historical. Why not something that's a little bit classic to the taste?
Yeah.
Have breakfast at a diner with a good old cup of Joe. That's this.
Sitting next to a group of retirees.
Yeah.
Yes.
That who will gladly give their World War II stories to you. I mean, if they're still alive, but
Yep. To all the veterans, we thank you for your service.
thank you.
Yes.
Especially to
gives us and allows us the freedom to come to these movies and review them for you folks.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. Midway. It is a keep your brain on kind of film. It is
Not fast food.
not fast food. It's like a low tier dine-in. For him, it's a backyard barbecue.
Because many people were doing that when Pearl Harbor attacked. So honor them with a backyard barbecue, folks.
Yeah. For me,
Yes.
it's an old-fashioned diner.
Yes. Go watch this movie. Definitely go watch this movie.
Oh yeah, if you're into the history stuff and
Yeah. Bring your middle school kids and high school kids. Watch this movie. That way they learn a little bit about history.
if you have some appreciation for what happened in World War II, especially with the U.S. and Hawaii involved,
Yes.
check this out. So that has been our review of Midway. If you like this review, feel free to give us a like. If you didn't, then you can do
Then
it.
leave America.
Go to Japan. Well, I want to.
Oh no, I want to go to Japan.
I want to go to Japan. You
Yes,
can't
they've
just-
come a long way since those events.
Yeah.
Yes. Even out of losers come winners.
But if you absolutely love this review, but you're not subscribed yet, please feel free to subscribe to my channel on YouTube or to my page on Facebook.
Please subscribe. We need subscribers.
I haven't had anyone new.
Please. Tell your
And-
friends.
Yeah.
Subscribe.
If you like this content, put us out there. Then will be bigger, and we'll shout you out for it.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Yes. Hit us in the comments.
And to shout you out, we'd also need you to know when we have videos out. So there's a bell icon on YouTube. Click that and you'll be notified of everything we put out. So that has been it. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, we will see you later.
Aloha. Right. You know that bit where I screamed Cunha Road in the theater? Was that? Did he look like?
It looked like Cunha Road, but I was like, you can't really see Pearl Harbor like that from.
No, because it's not.
It's not.
It's not.